We look at that day as the day we met the 5th member of our crew.
Gentlemen, assume your positions.
Thurgood, Brian, Kenny, and Scarface.
You guys feel like you're floating?
This weed is fantastic.
Their jobs stink.
You suck! You suck! You suck! You're cool!
Their sex life is 0.
How do I know you're not lying to me?
How do I know you got panties on, Mary Jane?
I don't.
And their lives are going nowhere.
I'm a professional meter hopper.
You have smoked yourself retarded.
Yo, who's on munchies tonight, yo? Make sure chocolate. Gotta have chocolate. Graham crackers. Pizzas, man. Celery, grape jelly, peanut butter, popcorn, beef jerky with water. Whole lot of water.
You must have been so hungry.
But now, they're in trouble.
I just gave him some candy and some chips and some pink popcorn and...
All we gotta do is raise 10% of 1 million, yo. Which by our calculations is fucking impossible, man.
The Food and Drug Administration are having us do a study.
1 pound of marijuana, and you can sign for it right here.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, you, I got it. I know how we could get Kenny out. Weed, man. We'll sell weed.
Isn't that the custodian?
Maui, wowie!
When life is hard, I pick up that car with the smiley face.
This guy is weed crazy.
We're not drug dealers, we're fundraisers.
Go get me this Mr. Nice Guy.
Well, you know, I'd be from Jamaica, man.
What part of Jamaica?
Right near the beach. Boy!
From Universal Pictures comes a story that proves
I'm somebody's bitch.
3 heads are better than 1.
Who's out, man? I just stopped smoking yesterday.
I remember when a dime bag cost a dime.
Half-Baked.
I'm sorry!
Welcome to the latest episode of the B-Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This week we'll be discussing the 1998 comedy classic Half-Baked, starring Dave Chappelle, Jim Breuer, Harland Williams, Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson. It's an all-star cast. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week on the B-Movie Club, I discuss certain guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the past. Go ahead and go to our page on Facebook, Original B-Movie Club, and give us the big thumbs up. Go to our page on YouTube at KD9575, my initials and my birthday. Hit the subscribe button, it's totally free. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at the B-Movie Club. You do all that, you get the latest updates anytime we post a video, any links that are particularly B-movie-ish, and we pass it on to you. Don't forget to spread the word, the more the merrier. I couldn't do it without you, my small but loyal audience. Okay? So good times had by all. Half-Baked. In this movie, a small group of stoners, led by Thurgood Jenkins and his buddy Scarface and Brian and Kenny, they're basically slackers in the New York area who just hang out and smoke weed all day. They have minor menial type jobs they do to pay the rent, but otherwise lead an uneventful life. So there you have it. One day, Thurgood, while working as a janitor at a medical research company, he is asked to go bring a pound of weed that they have because they're doing experiments on marijuana. And as a reward, the scientist gives him a little weed to take with him. So he takes it home to his buddies. They smoke out. Later, they send their buddy Kenny to go get munchies. And he gets into an altercation with a police horse. I don't even want to get into it. But now he's in jail. He's been arrested. And the guys need to get enough money for bail to get him out of prison, because you might imagine prison, not the nicest place in the world, okay? Sadly, these guys, like I said, one guy's working at a record store, one guy's a janitor, another guy works at like a fast food restaurant. They don't have a lot of money coming in, okay? So, but what they realize is, hey, we have access to all that weed at the medical research company. We can just, steal some scripts or, I don't know what those things are. A little piece of paper, requisition forms, I don't know. Steal it from the scientists so they go get as much weed as they need. And they sell the weed. So since they're stealing the weed, every money they make is profit. But they need like $100,000. So they really got to get down and do this. So they form their own company selling weed, Mr. Nice Guy. And then there's this montage of them selling weed to different people that you might recognize. You see Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson. Jon Stewart pops in there. Janine Garofalo. Later you see Bob Saget pops his head in. There's a lot of little crazy cameos. Sadly, the local dealer is kind of irritated. These guys are stealing all of his clients, essentially. Samson, he's a gangster who's coming to get him. And Samson pulls all the drug Thurgood and his buddies in and basically says, you're going to have to give me $20,000 a week from here on out, or I'm going to kill you guys because I'm a lunatic psycho. So they agree, even though that's ridiculous. They don't even make that much money. So they have to do a daring raid of the medical research place, steal as much weed as they can carry, do a full blitz of selling all the stuff. But then the cops catch them because they're horrible at stealing, it turns out. So they plea bargain. They say, hey, we will wear a wire and we'll go in there and we can arrest the big drug dealer Samson, and then you'll drop the charges on us and all will be happy. I don't want to spoil everything. There's a thrilling conclusion to all of this. Spoiler alert, Samson gets taken away. Kenny, who's in prison, they get him out of prison. He's fine. There's a subplot in the movie where Thurgood meets a delightful young lady, Mary Jane, ironically. But her father was arrested as a drug dealer, so she actually hates all people who use drugs, who smoke weed. So she demands that Thurgood give up weed altogether. So there's that interesting little plot there as well. Now, this was Dave Chappelle's first real foray into movies and media like that. He was a comedian, very popular comedian. He'd had like comic albums and comic concerts and things like that up to this point. But this is his first thing. And this movie really kind of paved the way for him to get his own show a few years later on the Comedy Central channel, The Dave Chappelle Show. Chappelle Show. So he wrote it with Neil Brennan, who was also the guy, the co-creator of Chappelle's Show. And like I said, he had his buddies, basically brought in his friends to star in it with him. Jim Brewer, who you might remember from Saturday Night Live, he played his buddy Brian. Harlan Williams, another comedian, he played Kenny, who goes away to prison. Guillermo Diaz plays Scarface. Like I said, there's all these interesting cameos. Basically, where they classify the different type of people who typically buy weed. It's very informative, as you might imagine. So that's kind of cool. Chappelle has lamented that originally the script was much, much funnier, but that it got edited down and tweaked to make it what he called a weed comedy for kids. And there is definitely a lot of that kind of goofy, slapsticky comedy, but there's a lot of straight up laugh out loud moments in this movie. It's really underrated. No one went and saw it because at the time, Chappelle wasn't a particularly famous person, had a great cult following, although they made the movie so cheaply that it wound up being a financial success, made like twice its money back, so good times. Tommy Chong is in this movie. I forgot about him. He's in there playing the Squirrel Master in prison, who protects Kenny on more than one occasion using, like, I guess Kung Fu or something along those lines. So that's good. Jim Brewer, who, like I said, he was from Saturday Night Live. Typically, and his eyes just kind of look stony all the time. Like, that's like his hook. He has stony-looking, squinty eyes. He said that he never actually smoked weed over the course of this movie. People think there's a lot of weed going on. He said there was only one time where Dave Chappelle basically insisted that they all get together and smoke. and because they thought they were done for the day. It was like, okay, we finished shooting. Hey, let's go ahead and do this. So he did, but then they were promptly all called back to the set because the actor Clarence Williams III, who played Samson, the big-time drug dealer, was threatening to quit the movie. He was threatening to walk. So they basically had to call the entire cast back and film all his scenes in one shot. So sadly, because they were so high, Jim Brewer had trouble articulating his lines, to say the least. So if you watch that scene, any scene where it's Thurgood and his buddies talking to Samson, you might notice some things. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. You might notice some things. So, good times. As we know, Dave Chappelle went on, got his own show a few years later. Great. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It was only on for 2 seasons, because then, I guess, success was too overwhelming, or something was going on, because during the filming of the 3rd season, he quit. They just written him a check for $50 million to keep doing the show. He just said, I'm out of here. Went to Africa, disappeared, so I guess he's just now doing kind of stand-up. So if you notice him, say hi to him. Say, hey. The rest of the stars, you might notice them from here and there, but what can I say? Not on to bigger and better things. So sadly. This movie currently has a 29% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, which is a travesty. It's ridiculous. This movie, it's not Shakespeare we're talking about here, for goodness sake. But when it's funny, it is really funny. And I think they use the celebrity cameos really expertly. Because it's like you don't see them coming, and then boom, there's Snoop Dogg popping up. Or there's Willie Nelson. And each scene with one of those cameos are just hilarious. Hilarious. It's like they gave the best lines to Bob Saget or to Snoop Dogg or whomever. We're just like, it's great. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. It is streaming instantly on Netflix. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Any favorite scenes, favorite quotes. And I may just talk about it on the show. The next 2 episodes, which I'm going to be filming back-to-back with my sister Erin. It's Thanksgiving. I don't know when you're watching this, but it's Thanksgiving coming up, so we're going to be hanging out with the family. My sister Erin and I are going to do 2 episodes back-to-back. Our next episode, the first we're going to film, is the comedy horror classic, Frankenhooker from 1990. Jeffrey's girlfriend dies in a horrible lawnmower accident, and he has to stitch her back together using body parts from hookers. Yeah, good times. That was Aaron's idea, by the way. So it is not streaming instantly on Netflix, so thank goodness for small favors. If you want to check it out, you'd have to dust off your own copy, perhaps. Or it's on Amazon, Instant Video, things like that. It's out there if you're dying to watch it. So check that out. Again, let me know what you think. Any favorite scenes, movie suggestions. Any movie suggestions you'd like me to do going forward, let me know. So we appreciate all that you do. Okay. So don't forget to go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the thumbs up. Go to our page on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at The B Movie Club. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. Abba Zaba, you my only friend. So there it is. Good times had by all. Thank you for joining us. Next week, Frankenhooker. Be well.